Canada may be on the verge of breaking free from American control of its fighter jets, not with a new alliance, but with a new engine. When the Pentagon starts lobbying harder, it's usually a warning sign, because it means something just challenged American dominance. And this time, it's happening in Canada. Canada just got a powerful reason to rethink the F-35. And this time, the push isn't coming from Washington, it's coming from Rolls-Royce. For years, Ottawa has wrestled with one of the most expensive military decisions in its history: 88 F-35 stealth fighters, a deal worth tens of billions. The pressure was relentless, so were the problems. Costs kept climbing, dependence on the United States deepened, and concerns over technological sovereignty refused to go away. That's why Sweden's Gripen E was once seen as a serious alternative: cheaper to operate, designed for cold climates, built for dispersed bases and short runways. But there was one geopolitical landmine: the engine. At the heart of the Gripen E sits the GE F414, an American-made engine, which means Washington holds the veto. Every resale, every major upgrade, every sensitive maintenance decision, Pentagon approval required. For Canada, that defeats the entire point. An aircraft that isn't American but is still controlled by America through its engine isn't real independence. It's just dependence with extra steps. And this is where the equation may be changing. Rolls-Royce is entering the conversation. Not quietly, and not symbolically. This isn't about just swapping engines. This is about who controls the fighter and who doesn't. Canada isn't an easy customer when it comes to fighter jets. This country spans 3 oceans. It patrols a frozen Arctic where temperatures plunge below -40 degrees Celsius. Distances between bases stretch thousands of kilometers. That demands aircraft that can operate in extreme cold, take off from short, rough runways or highways, fly long distances efficiently, integrate seamlessly with NORAD and NATO. The Gripen E was literally designed for this kind of world. Northern Europe, dispersed basing, rapid turnaround, low operating costs, highways instead of air bases, 800-meter takeoffs, one of the cheapest operating costs of any modern fighter. On paper, it fits Canada disturbingly well. But engines define power. With a GE engine, the US still holds the keys. With a Rolls-Royce engine, that dynamic shifts. Rolls-Royce isn't new to military aviation. They've powered fighters, trainers, and multinational defense programs for decades. More importantly, they operate under a different geopolitical logic. No US export veto, no Pentagon choke point, far greater room for sovereign control, domestic maintenance, and technology transfer. If a future Gripen variant were powered by Rolls-Royce, Canada wouldn't just be buying a jet, it would be buying leverage. Leverage over upgrades, leverage over sustainment, leverage over its own defense policy. This wouldn't just reshape Canada's options, it would send shockwaves through the global defense aviation market. Because the real fight isn't about stealth, or speed, or radar. It's about who owns the aircraft after the contract is signed. And for the first time in a long while, that question just got very uncomfortable for the F-35. With a non-American engine, Canada no longer needs Washington's permission. No approval for upgrades. No veto over maintenance. No restrictions on resale. Dependence drops. Technological sovereignty rises. Political risk falls fast. That's exactly what countries like Canada, Finland, and the Czech Republic are looking for: a modern fighter jet not locked inside US export control laws. This is where Rolls-Royce changes the game. Rolls-Royce brings decades of experience operating engines in extreme cold, from Arctic aviation to NATO military programs. For Canada, that means higher reliability, lower maintenance, and long-term support without political interference from Washington. But the biggest shift is industrial. A Rolls-Royce-powered Saab Gripen E opens doors the F-35 Lightning II never could. Engine assembly in Canada, domestic maintenance hubs, real technology transfer.
This stops being just a jet purchase, it becomes an independent strategy. And the numbers were already compelling. Gripen E costs about $8,000 per flight hour. The F-35 runs $35,000 to over $45,000. Gripen turns around in 10 minutes, takes off from 800-meter highway strips, operates reliably at -40 degrees Celsius.
Add a Rolls-Royce engine, and those advantages multiply. Shorter supply chains, predictable maintenance, full control. This is what analysts call sustainable sovereignty. Not leaving NATO, not breaking alliances, just operating without asking permission.
This is what real sovereignty looks like. The ability to maintain, upgrade, and operate your defense systems without external permission. And when you compare that to the F-35 Lightning II, the contrast is brutal. The F-35 isn't just expensive to fly. It locks countries into strict rules set by Lockheed Martin and the US Pentagon. Every software update, every spare part, every upgrade, all approved on America's timeline, not yours. A Gripen, powered by Rolls-Royce, offers the opposite: freedom, flexibility, actual independence. For over 50 years, the United States hasn't just led Allied air power through technology, but through control. Control of engines, control of software, control of supply chains.
Buy an American-powered jet, and Washington gains veto power over exports, upgrades, and technology transfer. This isn't accidental. It's deliberate design. The F-35 is the ultimate expression of that strategy. It doesn't just sell aircraft, it builds a global dependency network. Centralized logistics, locked software, maintenance dictated by Pentagon rules. That's technological soft power, and it's worked for decades. But a Saab Gripen with a Rolls-Royce engine threatens to break that model. For the first time, countries get a next-generation fighter that's NATO-compatible, but outside Washington's control. No export veto, no forced supply chains, no political pressure baked into the hardware. And this isn't just about Canada. Finland, newly in NATO, wants options that don't rely entirely on the US. The Czech Republic needs capability without runaway costs. Developing nations want advanced fighters without political strings attached. Every lost F-35 sale isn't just money lost, it's geopolitical influence lost. When allies can buy modern fighters without asking permission, the balance of power inside NATO starts to shift. That's what worries the Pentagon. For Canada, a Rolls-Royce-powered Gripen isn't just a jet, it's a lever to reshape long-term defense strategy. Now let's look at what Ottawa actually gains. First, real operational independence. Without American export approval, Canada controls how it uses, upgrades, and cooperates with partners. That matters in the Arctic, where response time isn't political, it's operational. Waiting for Washington's approval during a northern crisis simply isn't an option. Second, Arctic performance. Rolls-Royce has decades of experience with engines built for extreme cold, from polar civilian aviation to military cooperation with Norway and Iceland. Their engines start reliably below -50 degrees Celsius and maintain stable output when other systems struggle. That's exactly what Canada needs for NORAD missions in the high north. Third, lifetime cost. The Saab Gripen already has the lowest operating cost among Western fighters. A Rolls-Royce engine keeps maintenance simpler, predictable, and free from the F-35's complex global supply chain. Independent estimates suggest total ownership costs over 30 years could be 40–60% lower than the F-35 Lightning II. Fourth, domestic industry. A Rolls-Royce partnership opens doors the F-35 never will. Engine assembly in Canada, domestic maintenance centers, training engineers and technicians, participation in future R&D. Canadian aerospace firms, from Bombardier to engine specialists, stand to benefit directly. The F-35 can't offer this because Lockheed Martin tightly controls production and sustainment. Finally, combat readiness. Gripen's fast turnaround, small maintenance crews, and ability to operate from highways make it ideal for Canada's vast airspace. Reported readiness rates sit around 80 to 90%. The F-35 often struggles between 30 to 50%. So, is this all theory, or are there signals? There are several. Canada's procurement behavior has shifted before when alternatives became serious. Saab has recently emphasized industrial participation and technology transfer for Canada, something it rarely highlights publicly. And reactions from Washington suggest unease when alternatives gain traction. None of this guarantees a reversal, but it does explain why, for Ottawa, a Gripen with a Rolls-Royce engine isn't just a fighter jet, it's a strategic option that changes the rules. If American officials suddenly start lobbying harder, warning about NATO compatibility, or offering unexpected incentives to stay in the F-35 Lightning II program, that's confirmation. The Pentagon doesn't react unless it feels threatened. There's another signal too: public opinion. Recent polling and expert commentary show growing grassroots support for the Gripen option, especially among defense analysts and groups backing domestic industry. When public momentum builds, politicians pay attention. But this isn't just Canada's story. This is about a possible power shift in global defense aviation. For decades, U.S. influence hasn't relied only on technology, but on dependence, engines, software, supply chains, all designed so allies need Washington's permission to change course. A Saab Gripen powered by Rolls-Royce represents a different path: advanced capability without surrendering sovereignty, controlled costs, domestic industry growth, strategic decisions made at home, not abroad. Canada now stands at a crossroads. The F-35 offers deep integration, but long-term dependence. The Gripen offers flexibility, independence, and control over its own defense future. Third, lifetime cost. The Saab Gripen already has the lowest operating cost among Western fighters. A Rolls-Royce engine keeps maintenance simpler, predictable, and free from the F-35's complex global supply chain. Independent estimates suggest total ownership costs over 30 years could be 40–60% lower than the F-35 Lightning II.